Hello everyone. So yesterday, the final episode of Wandavision Season 1 concluded. All 9 episodes have been released and we know what is finally going on in Westview. So let me do my Season 1 review for you and let's get into it. So as you can tell from my first review for Wandavision, where I reviewed the first 2 episodes of the season, I was very intrigued about what exactly was going on, who was manipulating Wanda, or that was my theory at the time, and we did find that out. It's where we get to learn that Agatha Hawkins is one of the masterminds behind everything going on in this show, or everything bad going on in this show, and of course, I wanted Mephisto. I was so excited for it. But Agatha Hawkins is a good draw and a good tie-in, and very important to Wanda realizing her true powers of being the Scarlet Witch. And there were some really, really good scenes all about that. That's my little dude's whining over here. And it was fun to see her put on screen. And like I said, in the first 7 episodes of this, it does really go down that sitcom style, and I thought it was really stylistic, really, really cool, and it gives it a good reason for Wanda's grieving and just remembering her parents and doing all these things, and that's why she's created Westview in the way that she did. And then Agatha, which happened to be in Westview, who's a witch from the old Salem trials, is trying to absorb her powers and use it for whatever it is she's going to use it for. I'll kind of get into that a little later and my thoughts on just Agatha as a villain. But it turns out that it's been a lie the whole time, that Wanda stole Vision's body from Sword. You find out that she's just grieving, and the true extent to her powers, which is amazing, that she was able to create vibranium and a mind stone just out of spontaneous creation. It's really, really cool, and it does really get into Scarlet Witch's powers, which is something I've been waiting to see for a long, long time. So that made me very excited as a fan of just Marvel Comics and, of course, Scarlet Witch's character. I did, like I was saying, really, really liked how they were able to progress through like all the eras from 40s and 50s sitcoms all the way to modern day sitcoms, where the last one was almost like a Modern Family spoof, and I thought they did a really good job tying in every single era and also tying in characters and having them change throughout the style. It's progress from Wanda's stages of grieving with new styles of sitcoms, essentially. But now we're going to get into what I thought about the villains, all the characters, powers, all things like that, and for the most part, some of it was a little disappointing to me, where when they first brought in Evan Peters as Quicksilver in this Marvel timeline, I was wondering if this is how they were going to introduce the X-Men and how this is going to unfold. But by the final episode, you find out that Evan Peters is just playing some random citizen of Westview. It's not Quicksilver in any way. It's not Pietro. It's not even his dead body. It just kind of felt equivalent to me, like in terms of a slap in the face, as the Mandarin was in Iron Man 3. I thought that was really disappointing, and I don't understand why they used Evan Peters to play Quicksilver, just to have it, like I said, him just be a regular dude like the Mandarin was in Iron Man 3, and it just, like I said, felt like a bit of a slap in the face and just very disappointing. In terms of Agatha too, I felt that she fell into the trap that a lot of Marvel movies in Phase 2 and also Phase 1 fell problem with, where they're just kind of one-off villains who don't really get their backstory fleshed out. So we don't know what she was doing in Westview, how she got there, how long she's been here, what exactly she was going to use Wanda's powers for, and what she's been doing with her own powers for the last 300, 400 years. This is, again, to a character that didn't have much of her backstory or intentions fleshed out, and ended up falling very flat for me by the end of the series. She was more just there to torment Wanda and have her relive her past than she was there to be her own character. We also too finally got the answer of whether Vision is alive or not, since of course Wanda was able to create, like I said, an adamantium body and a mind stone for Vision, but he cannot, like this version of Vision cannot exist outside of the walls of Westview. So when the walls come down, or if he's able to break through the walls, that's it. He doesn't exist. And it's the same thing with Wanda's kids, Wiccan and Speed. It was really cool to see them and having hopes that they can come back in some form, but they also too cannot exist outside of the walls of Westview. So by the end of this show, they don't exist anymore, as they were just creations or figments of Wanda's imagination that she was able to create within the walls she created. But we do learn that Sword does have Vision's body, and they were able to put him back together, and it looked like they powered him through an arc reactor, but takes the inspiration of the White Vision design from the 1970s comics and has no memories of being Vision, just a protocol that he has to kill the true Vision. And while he fights the Vision that we all know, or that Wanda created within the walls of Westview, we get to learn that Vision is able to implant his own memories into this white Vision and have him realize that he is the true Vision because he has the body and now he has the memories, and just basically takes off into the air, and that's the last we see of him. So I wish, like, in one of the after credit scenes, we would have seen where he went, like what he's getting up to. And I don't know if they're going to tie him into anything from here on out, or how they're going to be able to work him in to any movies or future projects. I mean, we'll see, but it seems like he's just going to plop down and come in at just the nick of time kind of thing. And I just wish there would have been a little more than that, or if they would have just killed off Vision's character, because a lot of this is Wanda coming to terms with losing Vision, and with Vision still technically being out in the world, it just didn't feel like she's moving on from anything because Vision's still out there. I mean, Vision didn't tell her that there's a new Vision going out around that has his memories and everything. Of course, it's not going to be the Vision that we all know because it's not truly him, but I don't know. I just feel like they needed to, for Wanda's sake and Wanda's grieving her character, they needed to finally put the nail in the coffin to Vision, and they didn't quite do that. I do have to say though that in the final battles, Wanda and Agatha's I felt like there could have been a lot more magic and powers being thrown around, and it's Agatha's kind of arrogance and ignorance, not realizing that Wanda was creating like the witch's spell, kind of baffled me a little bit. It was cool to see, but just not enough of... It just felt really out of place for Agatha's character not to realize what was going on when she was supposed to be kind of one of the most knowledgeable witches in the world, if not the most at this time. But the final battle between like the two Visions was really, really cool, and I love seeing them shift through each other, shooting their lasers at one another, and it was a really good fight, just in terms of like the physicality. And then when they got into the mental fights with one another, I thought that was really interesting, really good, and just a very good conversation between the two. And Vision had a lot of really good lines in the show. There's one that came a little earlier in the series where he says, "What is grief if not love persevering?" and all these things that I loved, and I thought it was very good. And just Vision being profound as he likes to be in these movies, and learning what it is to be human, and also teaching humans through his own experience. And that's the Vision that I absolutely love to see. So that final battle was really, really cool. And one of the big things too is we finally get what's going to be our new Captain Marvel, maybe a little down the line, through Monica Rambeau's character, where through going in and out of Wanda's walls, it changes her body structure, and she's able to absorb energy and do all these really cool things. They haven't quite explained the powers. If you read the comics, you know where it's going to go, but there was an amazing scene with her where she gets shot a few times and you see the bullets just phase right through here, and so as soon as they get out of her body, just stop, and she's completely fine. She takes some of Wanda's hits and blasts, and then she's able, like as she's flying back, she's able to control her fall and come down, and there's a lot that she's going to be able to do. But I did really like Monica's arc in this series because I found that she grew a lot. She was a really good character. She was there for all the right reasons, and a little bit of static in her character too, which was really, really good to see. But I can tell that she is going to nail all her future appearances in Marvel. Maybe even two. There will be a really good reunion between her and Carol in Captain Marvel 2, and I'm excited to see that because with her powers, she'll be really cool to see on screen, and she's just a great character. So when it comes to all the dialogue and the moments that she's going to have in the future of the MCU, I'm excited to see what she can do because, yeah, they did a great job with her. And so as Marvel has stated that this show is going to transfer directly into Doctor Strange 2, and there's a lot of potential for this series to really dive into just the mystery, the multiverse, all these things, which doesn't really alter too much, but we do get some hints where we get to see the Darkhold for the first time, and we don't really get to know the passages of it, and for spoiler's sake, I don't want to go into it for Doctor Strange 2, but it's one of Marvel's most important books in the comics, and I'm really excited to see how it's used. And by the end of the show, in an after credit scene, you see that Scarlet Witch has it, and she's reading through all the pages, so that is going to tie directly into Doctor Strange. And then, as we know, Nightmare is going to be the villain, or one of the villains in Multiverse of Madness, and we don't get a mention of him, but a lot of the residents in Westview talk about how their nightmares and all of their dreams are constantly Wanda's dreams, and being the ruler of the dream states himself, Nightmare does have control over these people as well and what they're seeing. So a little bit of ties into the residents of Westview, and I'm certain that when Scarlet Witch makes her appearance in Doctor Strange 2, Nightmare is going to talk about how he was manipulating her in that situation and the residents of Westview and having a hold and control of them. So those are our two tie-ins to Multiverse of Madness. Again, like I was saying, there was a ton of potential for this show. And a lot of things that the cast were saying where there was going to be huge appearances by Marvel characters coming in. And Evan Peters was one of them, but then Paul Bettany was talking about how there was way more surprise actors that were going to come in, and that never happened, which again felt like a bit of a slap in the face. And it's tough to overlook when they're telling you that, oh, there's going to be some amazing characters coming in that's going to make this a huge show, like something you need to watch to understand the movies. But I feel like that's not going to be the case when Multiverse of Madness 2 comes out, or any of the other Marvel projects, which again, just potential that was built up by the casting crew, and unfortunately just they didn't deliver upon it. Like, I'm okay with there not being Mephisto or Doctor Strange making an appearance in the film, but a lot of it just felt really empty by the end of everything that was going on, with either characters' motivations not being explained, backgrounds not being flushed out, and just a lot of potential for this show that is resolved very quickly, and just a ton of one-off villains that don't really add anything to the Marvel Cinematic Universe or too much of the characters by the end of it, which again just made the whole thing felt lackluster to me, where it started off absolutely sprinting, but it's a bit of a limp to the finish I found in this, where there was really cool visuals, really cool fights, because Marvel's been doing an awesome job with that lately. But in terms of story, I just didn't really feel like this is going to be a huge tie-in like they were advertising it to be to Multiverse of Madness. And there's just so much more potential and name drops, even just appearances that they could have done that wouldn't have taken away from Multiverse of Madness. Like if we would have seen Nightmare, maybe even Mephisto, I don't think it would have taken away from the magic of seeing them for the first time on like the big screen when those movies come out. And yeah, as I was saying, it's just, this could have been so much more, but it felt like they played it really safe, or just kept a lot from us or steered us in directions that like I said, felt cheap when they actually revealed them to be what they were. And by cheap, I mean like cheap shots, just for comic book fans who know like what direction they're going into to get nothing out of it. Like I said, just kind of felt equivalent to Iron Man 3's and Mandarin's reveal by the end of it all. So with all this taken together, I am going to give the first season, or if this is just going to be a series, but I'm going to give Wandavision a 7 out of 10. There was a lot to like about this show, and it was really, really cool, and a great character study for Wanda, for Vision, and just how she's going to advance in her character and her powers throughout the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So in the comments down below, let me know what you thought about the first season of WandaVision and what you want to see from her character moving on in the MCU, what you would have wished would have been in the show. Just any comments, throw them down in the comment section down below. And also too, you can check out everything I do on my YouTube, on my other TV, movie reviews, my playlist down below. There's also a link to my Twitch down there. And of course, if you like what you see, you can subscribe and turn the little ringer on if you want to know when I upload new videos. But yeah, definitely check out all 9 episodes of WandaVision on Netflix and get ready for Multiverse of Madness when that comes out. But yes, awesome guys. Not even his dead.